Fort Myers police are also looking for the person who stole this truck right off of the Subaru car lot. It's a 2016 silver four-door Ford F-250. If you have any information on where that truck is or who did this, you're asked to contact the Fort Myers Police Department.
Remember, healthcare workers were supposed to be at the top of the list when it comes to getting the COVID-19 vaccine, since they're constantly dealing with people who are at risk of giving them the virus. But a lot of them find they're still waiting in Southwest Florida tonight like everyone else. Lee Health says it's because they've run out of supply. Fox 4's Rob Manch speaking with the local nurse about feeling overlooked.
Lee Health says it's vaccinated more than 1,100 healthcare workers outside of its hospitals, but the home healthcare nurse I spoke with wasn't one of them.
At first, we were alerted that we would be provided, and then somehow or another, like a thread, it just unraveled, and then now it's like, do the best you can.
This home health nurse did not want to be identified. She says she deals with COVID-19 patients on a daily basis in their houses.
I don't know the definition of frontline could be any closer than their home. So we certainly were expecting to be part of that frontline distribution.
Lee Health says the only vaccines it has left, it's saving so doctors and nurses can get a second dose. The nurse I spoke with says she was told by her company to try to get a vaccine appointment at Publix. But she thinks instead of giving vaccines to anyone over 65, the Florida Department of Health should be setting aside more doses for healthcare workers.
The Department of Health can do better. They know how many doctors and nurses have license and therapists. They can track that.
For now, she says she'll continue to try to get a vaccine appointment and protect herself as best she can, but she hopes something is done soon.
We walk into COVID and we want to be able to do our jobs, that's all, safely.
Now, Rob did check in with Lee Health. They say they have no idea when they'll get more doses of the COVID-19 vaccine. So for now, some of these healthcare workers have no option but to try to get the appointment at one of the public distributions.
Taking a look across our nation this evening, the union representing Capitol Police says 19 officers have now tested positive for COVID-19 2 weeks after the riot on the Capitol. That's the normal incubation period for COVID-19. The union can't confirm all 19 were on duty when the riots happened, but at least 4 members of Congress who were there also tested positive for COVID-19 after that day. The former director of the CDC predicted the riot would cause a coronavirus surge.
Dozens of civil rights organizations are expressing concern tonight over the possibility of a new domestic terrorism bill. At issue is what groups would be considered terrorist groups and whether that would constitute a form of profiling. Mark Meredith has the latest.
In his inaugural address, President Biden vowed to combat hate groups, which he sees as a growing national security threat.
Now, a rise of political extremism, white supremacy, domestic terrorism that we must confront and we will defeat.
This week, Democratic Illinois Congressman Brad Schneider introduced the Domestic Terrorism Prevention Act, which establishes domestic terrorism offices at the Justice Department, Homeland Security, and FBI, would require Congress be briefed twice a year on domestic terrorist activity and examine if hate groups have infiltrated military and law enforcement agencies. Senate Majority Whip Dick Durbin says following the recent Capitol Hill riots, lawmakers should feel an urgent need to act.
The House passed this legislation last fall. When I tried to have it called to the Senate, unfortunately, the Senate Republicans objected. I hope they have a change of heart now.
Critics fear the legislation may create more controversy and unfairly label some Americans as domestic terrorists.
We need to tread very carefully. And again, we have laws on the books. The vast majority of Americans do not support these groups, no matter what side of the political spectrum they're on.
This week, 135 civil rights groups sent Congress a letter urging lawmakers to focus on hate groups, but not to enact a new domestic terrorism charge. Becky Monroe is with the Leadership Conference on Civil and Human Rights.
When we've had new criminal charges created, however well-intentioned, they have ended up coming back to harm the very same communities in this case that white nationalists are seeking to harm.
There are privacy concerns too, with some lawmakers worried the government already has too much power to surveil its citizens. The White House is directing its National Security Council to better focus on the threat violent extremists pose. The administration also wants a full review over how officials can disrupt extremist networks. In Washington, Mark Meredith, Fox News.
Are you into motorcycles? Someone's come up with a new way for you to stay safe on the road just by wearing jeans. Yeah, all you have to do is put on these jeans. See how it all works.
Some Florida healthcare workers got a major surprise call today while they'll need to get their team swag ready as they head to Tampa.
And a live look outside from our Ruben Steylaw live cam outside the station, looking down Pine Island Road. A quiet Friday night. Fog's going to be an issue overnight, but the weekend weather looks absolutely spectacular. I'll have all the details in your Storm Shield forecast coming up in a bit.
A heads up for those of you who drive a Ford. The company is recalling 3 million vehicles for issues with their airbags. They say the driver's side airbag inflators made by Takata could rupture, and that can cause metal fragments to go flying right in your face, and it could be a deadly situation. The recalled Ford vehicles include the Ranger, the Fusion, the Edge, the Lincoln, and Mercury Milan models from 2006 through 2012.